Hey guys, welcome back. It's time to take a look at another thread. Once again, I think there's been a couple on the channel made by Dill here. Definitely a crafty individual coming up with some good ideas. I think this is another one of those. So let's read through here, see what they think. I'll leave a link to the thread itself in the description in case any of you want to participate. That, or if you have any examples, feel free to also leave them down below in the comment section. First up here, we got the instructions. Are there cards that you previously disliked but have found a new appreciation for? I used to hate the clay art Pokemon cards created by Yukimori. As a kid, I disliked all claymation shows/movies because they freaked me out. Now, many years later, I found a new appreciation for Mori's art and the effort/skill/time it must take to perfectly capture the Pokemon and its surrounding. Yeah, I'd agree. I guess if you really dislike claymation, they're probably not the cards for you. But at the same time, I think they're pretty awesome. It's kind of like a timeless thing, even though they're still clay. Unlike some of the old CGI, now we have new CGI. Some of the old CGI didn't age all that well, but I think the clay Pokemon, it's not really claymation, I guess, because it's not animated, but the clay Pokemon, I think, stood the test of time. They're kind of like a neat, different thing. I guess there's a couple different types of actual like physical media that are used other than your standard Pokemon artwork, whether it be your crochet boys, your clay Pokemon. I think there's a couple other examples. There might be some that are like made of paper or whatever. Cross Cards says 100% was Kamiya cards for me. As a kid, I liked the basic Sugimori art, so I hated distortion of the creatures, lol. I love any unique approach to the designs now that I can appreciate it. Fair enough. Nachi gives us Bill. I guess Ken Sugimori Bill. Oh, I don't know if I ever noticed this or not, but and under his arm, they didn't make it transparent so that it's the brick background. Just kind of like a white spot there. Interesting. All right, Dale says, I always appreciated how angry Kamiya could make Pokemon look. It's true. I guess I never really thought about how angry they were, but there's some angry ones. They're definitely upset. In the examples above, I mean, I guess you'd have to be a little bit upset if you're Pokemon battling and you're a Pokemon. There's a good chance that you gotta work up a little bit of a temper, right? Collector says, I didn't hate any of these, but I like them a lot more now than I used to. Yeah, I don't know if I ever hated any of these. Gold stars are pretty cool. It's kind of cool that they're all done by the same artist. They all have that same like style where they're coming out of the art box a little bit. The Winking Eevee, I don't know if I ever had an opinion in one way or the other with that particular artwork. I don't think it really necessarily stood out to me. Now that I'm thinking, I'm not even sure that there's any cards that necessarily I didn't like. Gyarados, what made you feel mad towards this beautiful fire sea dragon? Bendy snake fangs and delta oil mostly, like other Fukudas. It's verging on being a bit too cartoony for my taste. It bothers me less than it used to. So, yeah, he's got curly teeth. I don't know. It looks pretty standard Gyarados to me. I mean, it's not like the stock artwork or anything like that, but I think it's a pretty good representation of a Gyarados. So Dale says, I always felt that the mouth proportions were a bit off and goofy looking, but the rest is gorgeous. I think that's just mostly because it's supposed to be coming out towards you. Seaside Pokemon, definitely agree with you here. I didn't really like Yukimori's cards as a kid, but I've grown to appreciate them for being so incredibly unique. Kamiya cards, 100%. Same. Kamiya was another artist I always thought of as having cards with bad art as a kid, but now I see it as almost the complete opposite. It's almost like it has an acquired taste to it. Artists in general are something I appreciate a whole lot more than I used to. I mean, that's kind of true. As a kid, when you're looking at your cards, you're not necessarily thinking about the process that happened beforehand, the artwork, how it was developed. Typically, it's more to do with, is the Pokemon strong or not? Is it your favorite Pokemon, or is it one that you don't like as much? Is it holographic, or is it just a non-holo? So PFM says, it took me a long time to realize this was a Larvitar looking at its reflection instead of some weird bodiless abomination. True. You can kind of see here, you got his little leg, his little belly looking down into the water. I understand that it's looking at its own reflection, but the little nub on the left has always confused me. So I guess we're talking about this little nub. Not totally sure what's going on there. I guess this is the leg reflection. Maybe it's got a little nub, and we're not sure here. I understand. Okay, I always guessed that it was a really poorly drawn arm. I mean, or it could be a piece of tail or something, maybe. Not sure. SM Pratt says, honestly, most of the EX era, that was modern/new when I started, so I carried that new bias for a while, but now with so many sets released since, their design is more distinct to me. They're definitely distinct. Cross cards. Haha. If it makes you feel better, it's up until I read this post that I realized this Larvitar wasn't climbing to the top of a cliff edge. I guess I've never looked close enough to realize what I thought was going on. Made no sense. LOL. Cerulean. Japanese cards in general. When I first got back into the hobby in 2017, I didn't think about collecting them. Now, I would say over 95% of my purchases are of Japanese cards. That's interesting. There's a little bit of a learning curve in terms of purchasing them, at least purchasing them from Japan. So keep that in mind. I got a Buy video. If you guys aren't familiar with Buy, if you're looking at purchasing cards from Japan, there's a link down below. You get 2,000 yen off your first purchase. Also, with the Japanese yen so cheap right now, it's probably hasn't been a better time to purchase Japanese cards from Japan. DDK says, trophy cards and Japanese promos. Never understood all the fuss about them, but after hanging around here for a while, seeing how passionate others are, and learning about their unique history, I gotta say, these cards kind of rad. Josh still hates the clay art Pokemon cards. You gotta like them. You gotta like them at least a little bit. You gotta appreciate them. Dale says, clay is not my favorite medium by a long shot, but I can appreciate the immense skill required to make art at that caliber. Agreed. Like the Venusaur and Snivy tag team, pretty awesome. Jakester says, I was just thinking about this the other day. When base set 2 came out, I absolutely hated it. I did not like that they were reprinting artwork. I also don't like that to this day. I'd rather print new artwork. For some reason, that set did not feel authentic to me. Fast forward to the past few months, and I can't get enough base set 2. For some reason, it finally dawned on me how superior the Cosmos Holo pattern is. I love how it makes the card pop. I don't know. I still can't wrap my head around. I don't think holo pattern makes that much of a difference. Changed my mind. Separately, I never collected any E-Series cards when I was a kid, and after getting back into collecting, I didn't know a lot about them or find interest in them at all. Over the last year or so, I've been buying a lot of Japanese E-Series cards. All of the artworks feel so new and creative to me. So I think that was like my favorite thing getting back into the hobby, was the fact that I missed so many sets that I could like piece them together. There were so many new artworks and new styles and new types of cards that I'd never seen before. So it was just like a joy to go through all of those sets, those eras, and see everything that I had kind of missed out on in between. All right. Kevin says, mentioned this in the giant art thread before. I thought this card was boring when I first saw it, but it eventually became one of my favorites over the much more typical loud Charizard art. Yeah, I don't know why people don't like this. I mean, maybe if you like the black, shiny, edgy Charizard before he got changed from purple, I guess that maybe that's a good reason to dislike this. The fact that you got to look at his butt, maybe. I don't know. It's kind of like I like the mountainside, the cliffside here in the background is kind of like really simplistic, cool pose that you don't normally see. He doesn't necessarily have to be breathing fire down your pants in order to make for a nice card. Collector says, this is a really good way of putting it. I'm not huge on this card. I think my personal issue with it is the red/purple combo. I'm sure it would be totally in love with it if it was flying, i.e. normal type background. Feels a bit similar to using Charizard in ADV-OU. It's more of this. It's more of a, this is just a Pokemon and a pretty cool one at that vibe than the more usual Charizard vibe. Not that this is always a bad thing, but it's definitely another facet of appreciation, if that makes sense. So it kind of like, to an extent, it kind of reminds me of like the current stuff, like where you have like Charizard napping in the Ultra Premium collection, stuff like that. It's like Charizard does not necessarily have to be like the most fierce, fire-breathing monstrosity in every single card art. I think it's cool to see them in different situations. He's not fighting 24/7. I guess that with the new cards coming out, he's kind of like sleeping after he fought, but maybe he fights most of the time. But sometimes he's just flying off into the distance in a canyon of some sort. Stagecoach, the entire e-reader era for sure. I can probably think of other singles that have grown on me, but nothing compares to my reversal on E-Series cards. I used to hate these cards. I thought they were disgraceful. They were less than Pokemon cards. They were novelty trash that ruined a once elegant collectible. But somewhere like 4 years ago, something changed within me. I realized how cool the artwork was in Expedition. I realized how awesome the Crystal Pokemon were. I embraced that my favorite Starmie is from Skyridge. Fell in love with the Versus series in similar frames with no dot code. Somehow a bunch of little things came together, and I went from hating this block of the TCG to really, really liking them. I get excited when I see people collecting them, and I really enjoy the ones in my own collection. Yeah, I think that's fair. There's a lot of people that like, I don't know, like I like that they did something different with the borders. I like that they tried something cool with being able to scan the cards with the e-reader. Could it have been better executed? Maybe it could have a lot to do with the fact that Pokemon wasn't all that popular when it was going on. Maybe that led to its downfall as well. Not necessarily downfall, but the fact that they weren't as popular. Chansey EX, caption taken from my Instagram. This Chansey has grown much on me over the years. When it was first released, I was angry and disappointed that Pokemon had made Chansey EX have such lackluster attacks in the competitive TCG format. I was frustrated that they recognized base Chansey for inspiration, but didn't make any effort to make the EX card actually playable. I viewed this card as being mean and disrespectful to Chansey, who had gone from one of the best cards of the game to a completely non-competitive EX. They didn't even increase the HP or attack, yet it was a 2-prize card. It felt like a slap in the face. Nearly 20 years later, I have a different perspective. For Chansey to be included as part of the first EX release was a high honor. The introductory EX and EX Ruby and Sapphire were not meant to be playable, but rather to introduce the EX mechanic with beloved familiar Pokemon. The honor is elevated when one recalls each EX card in EX Ruby and Sapphire was a different energy type. Chansey and Chansey alone was chosen to represent the colorless normal type Pokemon. Chansey EX remains the only ultra rare set card Chansey, but I have faith that eventually a shiny Chansey or other ultra rare Chansey card will be printed. It doesn't. I'm trying to think if that. Apparently there isn't. I guess he would probably have a better idea on the ultra rare slot Chansey. I guess so. Since I posted this, an ultra rare Chansey was indeed printed, ending an 18-year wait. pretty cool. When was this posted? 9 days ago? Okay. All right. Dwa 86 Legendary Collection Reverse Hollows, because here in the UK and presumably elsewhere in 1999-2000, that seemed to be the pattern of choice for blatantly fake Pokemon cards. And for a while I can get over that. With time though, the firework pattern is pretty damn cool, especially for the fire types. I guess like that isn't really, I think that's the best part about Legendary Collection. I think I've always kind of felt that. It's more so the fact that they reprinted more of the same cards for the majority of the set. That is kind of not cool. But players needed them. And I guess it was a way to stop printing base set over and over again. And then the inclusion of the other cards. Jabby, I picked both of these up a while ago, but these are easily two of my fave hollows that grew on me. We have the Erika's Vileplume and the Magikarp Hollow. This is the promo, Shiny Magikarp promo. I don't know. I always just kind of like the gym heroes, gym challenge cards. So those never really had to grow on me. Erika's Vileplume is just amazing looking to me. The orange hue around the Pokemon combined with the rest of the card really does it for me. The holo just has so much going on. I just love the Magikarp artwork, and the holo portion is cool too. Yeah, it's kind of neat that it's got the rays coming out from it. The shine, the little stars. Cody. I'm right there with you. My friends and I hated base set 2 when it came out. I love it now. The Cosmos pattern looks amazing on the classic cards. Man, Cosmos is overrated. Jabby, the crazy thing for me is base set 2 was the first pack I pulled the Charizard from as a kid. One of my favorite childhood memories. Picked up a graded 9.5 for a solid price a while back. Okay. The Cosmos Holo is really great for sure, and is pretty much the best thing base 2 has going for it. It's a very tough grade as well. So many of these are marred with print lines and other issues. Yeah. Congrats, very nice. Damn, reminding me of things I hate. I'm really not a fan of reprinted art. It doesn't help that one of the Oddish cameo cards has been reprinted 5+ times. Poor Oddish. Wise Whalmer says, I've grown to somewhat respect modern alternate art cards. Still think it's absolutely overhyped to the moon, but I don't know if that's pun intended, but the demand/prices are there, and the art is quite good for most. Still, I don't collect them, but it's a bad idea to ignore modern. I think it's probably a bad idea to ignore modern, but at the same time, you got to realize that when things, typically, from anything I've ever seen, typically cards, individual cards, singles are at their absolute cheapest when they're a generation or two old. So these are still the new flashy thing. If they keep going with the alternate arts, if they go with something else that becomes the new flashy thing, we could see a lot of that stuff drop in price. Not saying it's going to happen for sure, but that's the trend. So like if you look at your Sun and Moon stuff now, like there's hyper rares from Sun and Moon era under $10 they're like 1 per box. But they used to be the cool thing, the chase card. Same with the secret rares from those eras. And then if we go back to XY, your full arts and stuff like that from there, I think those are probably starting to go up in value a little bit. But Cody, I agree. The artwork is amazing. There are just lots of other cards I'd rather spend my money on, especially for the prices they're going for right now. Wise Whalmer. They are absolutely an overhyped modern fad. However, they have far stronger fundamentals than most of the fads that came and went in the last few years. So definitely in terms of like difficulty to pull. But even then, if we look at like the less popular Pokemon, those have kind of already fallen off. If you look at your like Sandaconda, that's, $5 or whatever it is, still very hard, still very rare, but lost the value because it's already gotten to the point where people have to pick and choose which alt arts they actually want. It still has that rarity there, less desirable Pokemon. I think it's kind of cool that the Sandaconda's like near the radiator, heating himself up, but people don't agree. A lot of alt art hunters seem to be very, very genuine collectors and not resellers. They often don't want or care for graded slabs and just want them for the love of the game, which is refreshing. The pull rates are crazy low, making gold stars look easy too. The art genuinely looks good, and not at all like the sensory overload GX rainbows we had, or the solid background GX cards we had for a long time. Yeah, so the full art ones I guess you're referring to here. Yeah, so I don't think you should be grading anything as is brand new anyway, unless you're looking to flip it. I don't think you should be buying the graded copies right away, especially when the prices of grading were ridiculous. Maybe now that it's down to, what is it, $15 for PSA, maybe it makes it a good option at this point. But previously, what's the rush? The card is not going to fall apart if you store it properly. 100%. We got Brock getting punched in the gut, very reminiscent of the anime. I don't know if this is one that, like, maybe if you had the card and you didn't realize the story behind it, but then you watched the anime and then it made a whole lot more sense. We have Dill, who says, "This is well said. I'm hoping that alt arts will help to develop the palette of young collectors and increase the interest in card art. We need to move beyond the Charizard shiny flex mentality of influencers and instill an appreciation for the aesthetics and mechanics." Shadowless Charizard, I always thought Charizard was way too overhyped, and although I liked the base set artwork, I didn't like it that much for many years, especially not when I could get a cheap XY evolution version. But over the years, it has grown on me, so I decided to buy a Shadowless version alongside the Shining Champions Path and 276 XYP Charizard, my 3 favorite Charizard cards at the time. So it's kind of a shame that we didn't get this one in English. But yeah, and Charizard's gonna Charizard. If only I had realized I liked the Shadowless Charizard a bit sooner, as in 5+ years ago, it would have saved me a couple $100. Yeah, that'll happen. Disaster number 3610. I keep rotating the types I go through that I don't think the firework does a lot for. Colorless is awesome too. I think Psychic is the only one that I don't really care for. Dark Blastoise and Seadra for water. Jolteon for electric. Dratini line for colorless. Hitmonlee and Rhydon for fighting. Those really stand out for me. Wolchie says, playing with vintage decks, drawing that red brick wall is always a good feeling. 1999 Tropical Wind. Was never a fan until I searched collecting early Worlds promos. Rainbow Gem. I hated the reverse of Legendary Collection from the release. They still give me a headache when I look at them, but for the money, I love them. TCG Main. I completely agree with this. I got out of the hobby originally when Expedition came around, and when I got back in 2018. Unfortunately, these were one of the first things I sold from my collection. I just couldn't get past the borders. Of course, now I've matured and realize how great the artwork is. But hey, I still have almost all of the non-holos and reverse holos, so I can still enjoy the art just without as much of the shininess. Haha. Seaside Pokemon. Couldn't agree more about the Vileplume. The gym sets get a lot of heat for the Sugimori stock backgrounds, but I absolutely love them. I like the fact that they're paired with the trainers. I think it just brings a nice aspect into it. The artwork, yes. Could it be more dynamic? Could it have the actual trainer in the artwork? Yes, but that's why I like character rares so much. That's pretty much what we're getting with those, where you have the actual trainer. I mean, it's not like designated, like it's not an Erica's Pokemon, even if Erica's heads up featured in the artwork. Yeah, the game was so busted back then. Energy removal, gust of wind, Professor Oak, computer search, scoop up, etc. are all so OP now. They have to be supporters or have some sort of other kind of stipulation. The actual game was not good when it came out. Bill at least still kind of exists in the form of things like Acrobike, trekking shoes, etc. there's just so many other ways to draw cards and everything else that not really signif. The Sigma. Gym cards in general weren't really my thing for a long time, but now I love them. Gym series really kickstarted the concept of Pokemon trying different ways to combine characters from the anime/video games with Pokemon into a singular card. I'd love to see a new gym set where the format Trainer's Pokemon returns. I prefer seeing the actual trainer's name on the card, whereas modern trainer gallery cards do not include it. So yeah, I think if they did like a full Rocket set or a full gym set now with like the gym leaders with their own Pokemon, and they had the trainer in the Pokemon itself, character rare style, that would be that'd be sick. What's the new ultra rare Chansey? Since I posted this, an ultra rare Chansey was indeed printed, ending an 18-year wait. the hand drawn Chansey from the what were those, like the employee decks? There's an actual name for it. It's escaping me right now. Wolchi. That Onyx is one of my favorites. I know he's supposed to be going through a tunnel, but I can't help but see him just flying through space. All right. We got the combined artwork here. Very beautiful. Southern Islands. Chopped up, put into cards. I kind of like that idea of having like a combined artwork within a set. Just 98, Ecstasy Pikachu really brings it home. Okay. Collector. Mostly I adore Kasube, but there are a few of her zoomed in arts I'm still not a huge fan of, like Expedition Golem, Team Rocket Returns Grimer, and Dragon Shuppet. One I've only enjoyed more and more over the years, though, is this one. Great looking card, and it goes well with Staryu from the same set. I also love how it is a psychic type. Yeah, I think that's pretty awesome. Up nice and close. A little different perspective. I mean, there's probably only so many things you can do with a Starmie unless you have it actually using an ability or something. Dill, I was never a huge fan of Roserade's design, but some of the recent arts have made me reconsider. Yeah, this Roserade here, the trainer gallery character rare with Gardenia, pretty awesome card. I like this. The light coming through the trees, pretty sweet doo-doo daddy. Collector, the Arita is lovely, a great example of what I would describe as its own subset of his artworks, where he uses the sky to give them a very subtle, clean look. Quachancy says, Creatures Corporate History Deck. There's the name of it. It's a mouthful. Say that 10 times fast. December 2021. I also collect unique artwork appearances, so bonus for Blissey V special art as well. If you want to spend a cool, that's the thing with Chansey getting an evolution, is Chansey's going to get a whole lot less love because of that, because the expectation for the most of the the rare cards, ultra rare and above, they're probably going to be the final evolution. Not always, but typically. If you want to spend a cool $200,000, we got the PSA 9 S4A Marnie 24. Holy moly. Yeah, here's the Chansey here. I think they're calling it beta prototype Chansey. I have the Chansey, thank you though. I don't really know about that. Certainly there is more appreciation for the art, but the influencers now go on and on about alt arts, so that flex has grown to include all alt arts because they are alts. As for mechanics, I don't think that will ever happen. Yeah, probably not. There's man, it's kind of a shame that more people don't at least try out the card game. I'm not saying that you have to become an ultimate professional and compete at Worlds, but I think more people could, it's a good way to get a deeper understanding and appreciation for the cards that you're pulling out of packs or the cards that you're purchasing, just to have a basic know-how on how the actual card game works. But yeah, to each their own. Everybody can enjoy different aspects the way they need to. Thanks for tuning in, guys. I hope this was as entertaining for you guys as it was for me. It's nice to see the opinions of many all in one spot. So these threads are definitely insightful. Make sure you guys join the Discord. Make sure I see you next time.